Daniel Weathersby. Right up front.
Okay, so how many of you remember the show Fresh Prince? Okay. So my life in the 90s was Carlton. All right, I don't know. I mean, I've got the gray now, but my life was Carlton, all right? So every other day I would hear like, hey, you look like, and I'd be like, yeah, Carlton, right? So I'm a corporate guy, hence, right? And so back in the 90s, I was doing a lot of traveling, and we went to Atlanta for one of the accounts that I was managing, and we went to a restaurant, and it was like me and about 6 or 7 women. It was just me, one guy and all these women, white women, so that was good, because it made me look bigger, right? So we go to this restaurant in Atlanta, and and all these women know me, so they're always like, yeah, you're like Carlton. I'm like, yeah, okay, And so we get to the restaurant, and I always downplay it because, at this point in my life, I'm like, oh my God, seriously, I'm like a grown guy, I was young, but I was grown, I'm not Carlton. So we get to this restaurant, and, we sit down, and, we're getting some drinks and stuff, and, it's a corporate thing, so everybody's like just ordering. We're living like kings and queens. So the waitress comes over, and she's like, oh my God. And I'm like, oh no. And she's like, I know who you are. And I'm like, no, I'm not him. I'm just me. She's like, no, you're him, right? And I'm like, no, I'm just me, right? So the women, of course, at the table are like, no, come on, go with it, right? Fine. So then, I'm like, okay, well, I'm him. And she says, oh my God, I can't believe you are. Oh my God, I can't believe you're here. You're here at this restaurant? It was like Applebee's or something, right? I'm like, yeah, Alfonso Ribeiro's gonna go to Applebee's. So I'm okay, but I'm keeping a low profile, so just, I don't want a lot of, traffic. She's like, oh my God, no, this is awesome. And she goes back, and the women at the table, they're all like, oh, Daniel, yeah, this is cool, right? And I'm like, you guys don't get carried away. So she comes back, gets our drinks, and she's like, oh my God, this is so cool. You gotta tell me what it's like working with Will Smith. And I said, well, he's kind of a dick. No, really? And I'm like, yeah, he's kind of a dick. I'm like, nah, he's all right. He's cool. He's cool peeps. She's like, oh my God, tell me what it's like to be on the set. So now I'm thinking of shit, right? Like, it's cool. We get along. We smoke some reefer beforehand and get calm. And next, we're in character and we're just going, right? And she's like, oh my God, you Hollywood types are just awesome. So now I'm like digging a hole. You ever dig those holes and you're like, oh shit, I've dug them too deep. I can't back away. So she's like, oh my gosh. She goes back and brings out the food, and the women at the table, they're just kind of laughing because they're hearing me. And next thing you know, people are coming out the freaking kitchen. No! I'm like, oh my God, this is going too far, right? So the chef comes out, other waiters and waitresses and everybody, and they're coming out looking, and I'm like, no, this can't be happening. I've dug myself too deep. So all of a sudden, the women at the table, they're like, yeah, just go with it. So then I start telling more stories. I just told stories, right? I made this shit up. I just, out of thin air, grabbed some stuff. Yeah, we just have a lot of fun, and, everybody's like a big family, and, I just watched the show. I don't know anything about the folks, right? And so finally, she's like, we finished eating, and I actually paid for the bill. So I had my little American Express card. This is not a, with my name on it. So I'm thinking like, okay, this is where, this is it. End of story, right? And, so I pay for it, and she thinks I'm like, incognito. So I give them, it's got Daniel Weathersby, and she's like, oh, yeah, nice touch. Nobody notices. I'm like, really? So I sign off, and I did get a free meal out of it, right? So I'm like, okay, fine, and then she's like, oh my God, thank you for coming to our restaurant. This is such an awesome thing. The manager comes over and he's like, oh, this has been great. And as I walked out, the entire restaurant just stood up and clapped. So all I could do was this. Thank you. And that's my story. Thank you.